are they stored? How are they stored? How we can classify that based on the priority and the risk involved. Then after that, we will be putting a data classification policy will be implemented. A tool will be implemented to ensure that, like a data prevention, loss prevention tool, DLP tool, and it will be presented, and people will, whenever they're using, the users will always be monitored to see whether any data is getting lost or not using the tool. And it will either prevent, or it will detect, or it will control, or it may be doing a correction activity also. So again, PDC will always be applicable, preventive, detective, and corrective controls. Then we have access control policy, which is all about the users, what all they are having access to, where they can have access, a physical access or a virtual access. Is it in the domain, or is it in our server? Is it in our network, or is it outside like a cloud? Is it in a third party? How third party will have access to us? So, or when we are using our computers from outside, like for example, I'm logging in from my home and try to connect to the network, how is it going to get governed? How, what kind of access policy should be there? All of these things will come in access control policy. Then we have remote access policy. I was just talking about, no? So remote access policy is where outside party or anybody from outside is trying to log into our system or trying to connect to our system. How is it getting governed, or how is it getting managed? Is coming in the remote access policy. Then we have password creation and management policy, which we just briefed about in the previous discussion, where the password will be created by so and so, and what kind of password it should be, whether it should be changed, how frequently it will be changed, what is the structure for a password, what is the nomenclature for a password, how I should not reveal my password to others, how I should not share my password to outsiders, or even people who are working with me, colleagues, how it is accountable. If something happens with using my password and my login, and somebody does a transaction which is not done by me, I will still be accountable, right? So this concept is called non-repudiation. So I cannot refute saying that I didn't do, because it is my ID and my login. So I cannot go and say, I didn't use it, sir, somebody else has used it. So that is not possible. So again, these are concepts which are laid down in the password creation and management policy. Then we have clean desk policy. Clean desk means, typically what happens is, I work at a workstation. Okay, I work in a cubicle. And suppose I'm keeping some sensitive documents on my desk, or keeping it open and going. My laptop is open, anybody can come and they can monitor, or they can just open the system and then see. They can open the file, say it is not protected, it is not covered, it is not kept under lock and key. All of these things will result in somebody else getting unauthorized access to confidential information, or they can even steal it. They can even take it away. So these kind of things, to avoid this, we now have something called clean desk policy. So we work on a need to know or a need to do basis. It is also called, in terms of IT, it is called principle of least privilege, POLP, principle of least privilege. So principle of least privilege means we have to make sure that minimum information is given to people only to the extent they need to know or need to do as a part of their work, as part of their requirements. Okay. Suppose I'm doing only the auditing. I don't need to have transactional access, right? I only need to know view access. I only need to know reports. I don't need to have access to change or modify any transactions. So this again is based on the access control policy. The clean desk policy talks about a virtual or a physical control over our environment in which we are keeping confidential information. Then data backup policy again is a technical policy. Disaster recovery plan is based on our business continuity plan, and disaster recovery plan go hand in hand. So those two will come together. Then we have incident response policy. Incident response means anything that happens which creates an untoward event. Like for example, somebody hacks into our system. So that it becomes an incident. So how are we responding to that? How are we going to manage that? Can we prevent? Can we detect? Can we correct? What is the kind of response that we are going to do? Suppose somebody has come and stolen some data from us. How are we going to respond? How are we going to recover our data? How are we going to identify this person? So these are the kind of things. It can come in preventive, detective, recovery, or corrective, and many other things, deterrent, and many other aspects of it. Then we have vendor and third-party management, which is very critical these days, because nobody works in a single closed environment anymore. Nobody works in silos. Everybody is connected to something or the other. We are all connected to the internet. In fact, we are all connected right now. I am connected to you through the internet. You are connected to somebody else, and the whole world is connected to everybody else, right? So data is there all around the place. You are in Facebook, you are in social media, you are as a person, as an individual, you are interacting with many things. You are going to LinkedIn, you are going to YouTube. Everything is data. Everything about you is data. Same way as an organization, you will also be dealing with multiple organizations. Like you are outsourced your IT functions, you are outsourced certain aspects of your company to a third party. So how are you managing that? How are you managing your vendors? Vendors means people who are supplying things to you. For example, it can be goods, it can be services. Goods means something like hardware. Somebody is selling you hardware. HP is giving you, let's say, a laptop, so or a server. So that is he is a vendor. Okay, a third party is maybe a supplier. He may be a supplier. A vendor can be somebody who's giving a service. Service means, like for example, Microsoft is giving you Office 365 or any other services. Like he is giving cloud space, he is giving security. All of these things are services. Then finally, security awareness training policy, which is one of the most important things. Even though it's coming in the last, it will be one of the most important things because the weakest link in the entire security chain is the user. Sorry to say this, but 60% of all cyber crimes and attacks and everything happens because the user is not trained to do what he's supposed to do.